The Dallas Miracle is a city on a prairie that a bunch of folks pulling in the same direction, making the greatest place to live in the world.
You look at what's happening on the coast with increased regulation, higher taxes, higher cost of living. Then you look at Dallas. Low tax environments, low cost of living, low cost of housing. This is the place to be.
We did it with resolve. We did it with pluck. We did it with hard work, and we did it by working together. I came from a family that was pretty faith-oriented. It was always important to me to not be a problem and for my family in some way to be honored by my actions. The neighborhoods I grew up in were lower income neighborhoods. It was tough. By the time I was a teenager, Dallas was experiencing violent crime in numbers that we've never seen in the history of the country. It was the most violent period in American history, literally.
To understand Eric, you really have to know his mom. Mrs. Johnson is a little woman, but she's a powerhouse. She just did not allow obstacles to stand in Eric's way. And you can see that sort of relentlessness in Eric.
When I was in first grade, I had this amazing teacher named Lee Ann Ferris. She saw something in me that she believed needed to be cultivated. She took it upon herself and discovered a program that paid for inner city kids to be tested for admission to local private schools. I'd scored the highest score. They chose Green Hill for me. It made sense to me at the time. I was just happy to have the opportunities. I can't overstate the role that a teacher or just any adult can play in the life of a kid. I lived it, I experienced it. Miss Ferris changed my life.
He was, even as a little boy, somebody that you noticed when Eric walked in a room, and he just sort of exudes this aura of intentionality and purpose. He had this ability to challenge authority and peers in a way that was absolutely respectful, absolutely appropriate, and yet won't let you get away with an answer that you don't have a good reason for.
The 11 years I spent at Green Hill School are probably the defining 11 years of my life. I'm actually more grateful to Green Hill for the experience of being able to leave my neighborhood every day, experience a completely different culture, a different part of our city, but I was still able to return home every day, which was such a gift. I got to see firsthand every disparity that I'm now trying to tackle as mayor. We really were, in a lot of ways, a tale of two cities.
At graduation, he was selected by his peers to be the speaker. During his speech, he told this story about hanging out with a bunch of his buddies and driving around on a Friday night.
She got out of the car, and I presumed to go pay for the gas, and I was going to pump the gas when she returned. I assumed she was going to pay for it, and I was going to pump it when she got back. But to my surprise, she went directly to the pump, got the gas, and then paid for it. When she returned, I asked her excitedly how she managed to get her gas without paying first. And I was shocked by her response, because she told me that she had never paid for her gas first, and she had never even heard of such a thing. I retorted that I'd never gotten my gas first. And then in all the places I've lived, there were signs demanding that the purchaser pay first. The rest of the way home, we discussed this issue, and we wondered what were the socioeconomic and racial implications of such a dichotomy in gas station practices.
That small little detail helped everybody understand this gulf of experience between his school world and the world that he grew up in. But it was just a reminder that within our own city, there are very different experiences. And I think that has absolutely impacted the way he governs.
Very early in my adulthood, I was motivated to serve. All I did in college was community service. What I wanted to do was spend time with young people and try to make a difference in their lives like Miss Ferris had made in mine.
He graduated from law school. He could have went to any major law firm he wanted to or an investment bank, but he always wanted to give back to the community. That was so important to him.
I get sworn in and I get the statistics and I see that crime has been ticking up for a while and it's getting worse.
We actually didn't have any clarity, and the chief at that time was never able to produce.
What I needed to do was tell my police chief at the time that you need to address violent crime in a systematic way. Do we have a violent crime plan? The answer I got back was no. Then I insisted that we get one. It was very clear that the violent crime plan that I got was placating me, and it wasn't taken seriously. And that began the quest that I led for a police chief who would take violent crime seriously.
And so the mayor had to go out to the other council members and convince them that this was not working, that we needed to make a change.
We ultimately got that police chief that we needed. He came to Dallas, asked for criminologists to help him develop an actual violent crime reduction plan, which we implemented immediately. I went to that task force and said, I need actionable recommendations that I can go to the city council and ask them to fund. They gave me 4 recommendations. I went to the council, they funded all 4 recommendations. Police chief implemented the plan. The result, Dallas, Texas became the only top 10 city in America to lower violent crime in every category tracked by the FBI 2 consecutive years in a row, and we're working on year 3. If you look at the top 10 cities in the United States, over the time I've been mayor, a lot of those mayors aren't mayor anymore that were mayor when I started. It has a lot to do with the failure to respond adequately to the sharp increase in violent crime that pretty much every city started to experience once COVID came.
2 or 3 years ago, there was a lot of political, tension with respect to policing.
He took a stance that we wouldn't defund our police, even when it wasn't popular with groups I supported. Communities that suffer from violent crime need police officers. This is not the time to have that conversation.
I saw a lot of cities and a lot of my fellow mayors cutting their police departments in ways that made no sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it other than to placate certain activists who just came up with arbitrary numbers. I'd like to see a 30% cut. I'd like to see a 60% cut. There were protesters who, for days on end, in the dark, standing on my private property in my yard, shouting my name, insisting that I defund the police. Not only was I not for it, I was vocally opposed to it. We've actually increased the funding to the police department, and we've budgeted to hire more officers. And I knew that there was not one person who actually had to live with this violence that wanted us to defund the police.
How do you defund the police? That's crazy.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Republican U.S. Senator John Cornyn gave Mayor Eric Johnson the formal oath of office in a show of bipartisan cooperation.
No other top 10 American city has achieved results anything like what we are seeing in Dallas. Period, full stop.
People love Dallas.
The Dallas Police Department has worked really, really hard to throw the kitchen sink at violent crime.
The Dallas crime drop under your term now. Murder's down almost 16%, and rape is down 32%. Aggravated assault's down 4%. It really takes a community and good, strong leadership.
What he did is he understood what his job was, he understood how important it was, and he was very focused from day one all the way through to the completion of his first term.
Eric formed that partnership with the police right at the beginning, saying that we are not going to defund our police, we're going to fund our police. So we're going to defund the bureaucracy before we defund our police department.
We really appreciate the police. We respect them. I think that sets us apart from many cities that we're seeing across the country.
The safety of our city has been a contributing factor to attracting more entrepreneurs.
Eric Johnson, I think, did a very good job of bringing together groups that were really at each other's throats and finding what they could agree upon. And he accomplished an environment that today has Dallas being one of the safest, largest cities in the country, which is why people and companies are coming here in droves.
I can either work to be the most well-liked or the most popular mayor in the history of Dallas, or I can work to be the most effective or, to do things that I believe are the right things to do for Dallas.
I think he understands what Dallas deserves and what Dallas can be.
We've cut taxes all 4 years I've been mayor.
Lowering taxes in the last several years is a benefit to entrepreneurs and attracts an incredible entrepreneurial environment.
Currently, Dallas's tax rate is the lowest it's been since 2007.
Lowering the tax rate is a huge magnet for homeowners, small business, and big business. As we continue to grow, we'll continue to lower that rate to make this the most attractive city possible.
This city's reputation is being pro-business, for really wanting to help people really make a go of it in commerce. And so how can we help you? How can we make it easier for you to do business?
Who wants to be taxed, but let's make sure that they're not excessive and they do not reduce the ability to grow our businesses.
But how do you have a lower tax rate? You have to have a higher tax base. So what I need for Dallas to be able to compete well is to get people to invest in Dallas. And we have had a tremendous success doing that since I've been mayor.
We see a lot of companies moving here. We have Fortune 500 companies. We're becoming a real target area because we're a business-rich city.
We've had 3 Fortune 500 companies since I became mayor either relocate altogether to Dallas or to move significant operations and expand into Dallas. AECOM has come to Dallas, CBRE, and Goldman Sachs has decided that they're going to make their second biggest office in the world, right in the heart of Dallas. There's $14 billion more buildings and development in the city of Dallas than there was when I started.
And he has made increasing our international opportunities as one of his visions. He is building that, and it's working. A new trade office that has been established here from France. We're working on a couple of others, putting trade offices in Dallas.
I have heard for years that saying that there is no Democratic or Republican way to fill a pothole. I would say there doesn't have to be. You can choose to love your whole city.
He understands the influence and the power of spiritual leaders and is able to bring collaboration between spiritual leaders, political leaders, and business leaders in an unprecedented fashion.
I think the next 4 years will be golden years for Dallas under the leadership of Eric Johnson.
You know exactly what you're getting with him, very transparent with his approach.
We've got to continue to expand the city's portfolio of parkland. Recent study was just done that shows that by several thousand acres, Dallas has more vacant land than any city in America. We need to convert some of that land to parkland. We need to convert some of it to private development, housing, single-family residential, multifamily, affordable, all of it. We need to be, in a build, baby, build mode.
He's always calm and he remains steadfast in his leadership.
And he works hard.
And I don't think he wants to let Dallas down, and he hasn't let Dallas down. He's made us very proud of him.
He's a pretty amazing guy.
It's unheard of to have a mayor run for a second term with no opposition.
Why would we even consider anybody else when the person who is in that chair is doing an amazing job?
A smart politician doesn't want to get in the arena with Mayor Eric Johnson.
He has managed to really cultivate the attention and the endorsement of so many stakeholders in the city.
He's got the combination of the life story with the education, the skills, and the background to really produce great things for our people.
He is loved universally by all the stakeholders in Dallas, whether it be CEOs running corporations, entrepreneurs, city, firefighters, police. Everyone has come together around a common vision.
So we got to continue some of the things we started in the first 4 years and make sure we don't stop doing those things. The future is so bright, we couldn't be in a better position.
We're blessed in Texas. We've got a courageous mayor.
I think his purpose as mayor is to make Dallas the greatest city in the world, not just in the United States of America. He speaks our language. He speaks Dallas.